Surprise, motherfuckers! What's up? This is your friendly neighborhood Venger Satanis, coming at you. Almost Easter. What's this video about? This video is about the new iteration of Crimson Dragon Slayer D20. I just wanted to do a little 2023 update. And that happily coincided with kind of a funny story. So, I don't know if you remember, but I came up with this D100 random table for VengerCon. I was going to use it in my Chult games that I was running at VengerCon. And I thought it would be cool if all the people at home that maybe wish they could be there but couldn't for whatever reason could use that table along with me. And it would just kind of be like this cool, I don't know, symbiosis or this cool like joint thing. Like we'd be using the same material in the same world, but like different games and maybe like states or countries away from each other. I just thought that'd be kind of cool. And so I was looking it over because I was going to release it in the back as an appendix in the back of Advanced Game Mastering Like a Fucking Boss, which will hopefully be out in like 2 or 3 weeks on drive-thru. So I was looking at that, and then when just like cleaning it up, just making sure that I didn't, spelling errors or whatever. Sometimes I'll like put a period at the end on some of them and not other ones, and so I was kind of like, I was just doing like random pre-layout bullshit, and I saw an entry, and it just said Fuchsia burn. It didn't have any other description besides that. I thought that was a cool name, Fuchsia burn, and I was trying to think like, what could that be, and for a while now, for probably a couple of years, at least since Chult's Fuchsia Malaise came out in 2020, I would have these little polished, you've probably seen them before, either in one of my games or in a picture or maybe on video, like an older video. I have these little polished fuchsia stones that I got them either at the Wisconsin Dells or Disney World, like the T-Rex Cafe or something like that. One of those like touristy places where they have got all these polished stones, and then for like $5 or $7, you can fill up like kind of a small to medium-ish bag of whatever you want. And so one of the last times I was there in either place, I did that, and I was able to get like 32 these little polished fuchsia colored stones in a bag for like $7. So I brought them home, and I just started using them as tokens to represent a point of divine favor. So then the player has a physical representation of like the divine favor that they can then cash in and spend, and so then they hand it back to me, and then they get a reroll on whatever die they want. It could be a damage roll, could be 2 hit, could be saving throw, really anything you want. And so yeah, so I've been using the little fuchsia things, the little fuchsia stones. And so, I was trying to think of something when I read that fuchsia burn phrase, I guess. And I was trying to come up with something, and I'm like, what if I was intentionally trying to come up with something like wild and crazy that you could do at the table, like just kind of like a one-off. I'm like, what if you burned up all of the divine favor by everybody like using all of their fuchsia stones like at once, the whole table. And I'm thinking like, oh, that's cool. So I wrote it down and then I gave it some more thought. And I was like, that's actually kind of cool. Like if someone wants to not only use their thing of divine favor, but everybody's at the table at once, they could do that, and then it would give them like an automatic crit. Um, so if you were, for instance, rolling on a 2 hit and you rolled a 1 or something like that, um, you want to re-roll, because you're fighting like, I don't know, something that's hard, and you, for whatever reason, you don't want to take the 1. Because let's say it really matters, it's really important. So, or it could be a saving throw, like a save or die or something like that. And let's say you have a point of divine favor, and then your guy next to you has 2 points, and then a third player has 1 other point. Like you could decide to spend the whole table's divine favor, so everybody would turn in their fuchsia stone, and then you would get like a natural 20, a critical hit or whatever. And yeah, and then that could be a fuchsia burn. And it just occurred to me that that's really cool, and that, like, why not be able to do that all the time? I mean, not all the time, but it's an option. It's an option that's available. It's on the table. It's something that it's always on, as in it's something that can always be performed. You don't want to do it all the time, presumably, and you have to have at least one, more than one. So you can't have just like one yourself and be like, I automatically crit. There's got to be at least 2 involved. Maybe you have 2 yourself, or you have 1 and someone else has 1. So, yeah. Or I just thought of this. Maybe you don't have any, and your friend has 2. I mean, you could do that, I guess. You might want to check in with the player, make sure that's cool. But anyway, I don't know. I just thought that was cool, and worth updating the PDF. So if you look at I don't see it unless I update or clear my cache or whatever. I like barely know what that is. I'm so not tech savvy. But there's a 2023 in fuchsia. It's like dripping some slime on the cover. Refresh or clear your cache if you can't see it, because it does look pretty cool. And then page 1, it's got the fuchsia burn, like description in fuchsia. And then I also added a sentence or 2 onto the description of divine favor, because as I was reading it over, I noticed that it says that you get a point of divine favor at the beginning of every session, but it doesn't say anything about acquiring divine favor throughout the session, which is, I don't know, just through organic play, that's come about like again and again and again. And so I thought that would be important to include. I also went into a lot more detail in Encounter Critical 3, which is kind of the sister RPG to Crimson Dragon Slayer D20. So I added some stuff there, and then things like on the very back page, the credits page, instead of the advertising the Thoughts trilogy of Alpha Blue adventures and supplements, instead of that, I just did the advertisement for the Chult trilogy. And then it's got like a new, on that last page, it's got like a new update date. It's got a new date of like the last version in fuchsia. I think that's it. I think those are all the changes. So not much, but something significant. And then maybe in 2024 or 2025, I'll do like another update with like 1 or 2 little changes, or I would assume in the next 18 months or so, something is going to come up or occur to me or come about through play, that there's a reason for another update. And then I'll do that in Chartreuse. And yeah, but I just want to let people know, and it's just kind of like the funny, weird way that that change occurred, um, because the fuchsia burn did not occur organically, which is weird, and the normal way I like to make changes to the game or make an update. It was just something like spur of the moment. I just tried to come up with something like wild and crazy, but that fits the genre, or fit like what's something I would do if I was like had a moment of insanity. Um, and it just turned out that that was pretty cool. So I went with it, and I've heard a little bit of feedback, and people like it. So I'm excited to, excuse me, oh my god, I to try it out. Actually, hang on. In the very last session, um, Robard the Red, who is the dwarf crystalline cyborg character in my Crystals of Chaos Chult campaign, he needed to succeed in a saving throw. This was a save or die type thing. He wanted to ingest like this toxic, his own toxic magical essence. Basically, he wanted to like reabsorb it, and I let him know that he needed to make a saving throw, and if he failed, then his character was toast. And so he rolled, and he failed. Saving throws are kind of hard in Crimson Dragon Slayer D20, and Counter Critical 3, just to let you know. Although, pro tip, get your rocks off, because that just gives you a +5 bonus, and that's a no-brainer for the next 5 hours or so. Okay, so he failed. Then he used his own divine favor. He failed. That roll failed as well. And then he used his neighbors, and I think that failed as well. And then there's one more divine favor on the table, and then he used that last one, and he succeeded. He rolled like a 17. So yeah, it was kind of touch or go. And so maybe that was in the back of my mind too, because if he had just used all of them at once, then he wouldn't have had to. If it's really, really, really important, like life or death, then he wouldn't have had to like go through and like use up one by one. I mean, he could still. That's a risk. That's a gamble. But if you want like a sure thing, then you use the fuchsia burn, and then you use them all up at once. But then that guarantees not only like a normal success, but a critical success. And that can usually with saving throws in my games, that does make a difference. Like if you're safe, if it's normally like save for half damage. If you roll natural 20, you take no damage. In my games, I mean that's how I run it. Or earlier in that same session, that very character I rolled for him because it was kind of like a secret roll of this sort of alien possession thing, and I rolled a natural 20 for him, and so he was completely immune. Like I just ruled that he didn't have to roll again for this possession, like ever. He would, for whatever reason, I thought of a reason on the spot. He could not be controlled by this thing at all. He was totally resistant. Whereas if you just rolled like a 19, like you succeeded for now, but who knows about later. So I don't know. So in a way, yeah, it did come about organically a bit, but also not. So I don't know. This is a long anecdote. Sorry if it bored the shit out of you, or you just don't care. But if you wanted to know the basics behind it, cool. I will put the link in the description below, but you can always just go on DriveThruRPG and then look for Crimson Dragon Slayer D20. Now, I haven't updated both versions. So there's the Crimson Dragon Slayer D20, and then there's the Crimson Dragon Slayer D20 Revised. And up until yesterday, they were the exact same document. And I'm thinking about leaving the D20 and that's it, version alone. And just from now on, updating the revised version. Um, so yeah. Although if people could like tell me and convince me otherwise, I can be convinced because I'm not entirely sold on it. But I think that's a reasonable idea. Although it's a good rule, I'm not ashamed of it. It's just that I don't need to like constantly update both. Maybe I will. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you have an opinion. So yeah, re-download it if you already have it, or download it anew, or for the first time if you don't. And there was an email that went out to like 780 people that had already, out of the couple thousand that had already downloaded it previously, because not everybody gets an email notification. And in there, I like mentioned like, oh, this has changed and that's changed, and hope you enjoy. Yeah. So there's a new Fuchsia version of CDS D20 in town. I hope you do enjoy it, and I would love your feedback, especially if you use it in the game. I'd love to hear about your experiences. So yeah, definitely comment down below. Please share the video, like, subscribe if you haven't already. My channel is not monetized. I know that makes a difference in why I'm not getting the views or subscribers or whatever. I'd rather not monetize it, but if I have to grow the channel, then I will strongly consider it. I don't know. But that's it. Have a great Easter, and yeah, until next time.